So we're doing yet another one of these, where we take a look at different pieces of content that exist on the radio and on articles, and using them to create a narrative. So let's go out there and talk about the Carolina Hurricanes and forward Martin Necas, because he has been a guy that has been speculated to being moved for quite some time now. We had conversations about him during the regular season, whether or not he could be some sort of an offer sheet target, whether or not he could be a trade target. And just in case you're a fan of any of the teams we have highlighted in the title or thumbnail of this video, let's use this as an opportunity to talk about who Martin Necas is and what he can bring. He's 25 years old, 6'2", 198, right-handed center-right-wing player drafted by the Canes in the 12th overall spot in 2017, also is signed on till the end of this season, making $3 million AAV. Now, we had done this song and dance before, but Martin Necas wasn't as good this year compared to last year. Last year, he was the most productive Carolina Hurricanes player with 71 points in 82 games played. This year, he had 53 points. He also had 9 points in 11 games in the playoffs, actually being a legit playoff performer. And with the Carolina Hurricanes and their direction, with the usage of some other guys within the lineup, you can debate whether or not Martin Necas could be on the move. That is the title of a piece we're going to be looking at here on the fourthperiod.com by David Pagnotta from yesterday, and if you go out there and read, it kind of just goes over the situation. We've talked about this a bunch. The Hurricanes have prioritized getting Seth Jarvis locked up to a new deal, while the future of Necas seems to be a little hazy. It has been reported during the season that Carolina was willing to explore trade calls involving Necas, who was also linked to the Vancouver Canucks when, at the time, the Hurricanes made inquiries about Elias Pettersson before he had signed his extension. Necas is believed to want a higher role in the Hurricanes, and while he is arbitration eligible, Hurricanes GM Don Waddell told the media on Monday the team remains high on him. He's an exceptionally skilled player that has a lot more to give in my own opinion, Waddell said, as quoted by the Raleigh News and Observer. We'll figure out something with him. Now, with all this in mind, if you go out there and talk about the $30.9 million in cap space for next season, the Hurricanes may not have the necessary funds to keep everyone, and moving Necas before he inks a new deal could fill some voids potentially left by players leaving via free agency. And while that's all fine and dandy, the question then becomes, okay, if Martin Necas could be on the move, where could he be on the move to? Vancouver just signed Elias Pettersson to a big contract extension that you could very well say has not been worth it so far, but I mean, it hasn't started yet, so we can give PD a little bit more leeway. With this in mind, the article goes out there and says at the bottom, several teams are believed to have varying levels of interest in Martin Necas, including the Calgary Flames, Montreal Canadiens, Philadelphia Flyers, Nashville Predators, San Jose Sharks, and the Utah Hockey Club. So, let's talk about these 6 hockey teams and the idea of them acquiring Martin Necas, and as well what the number could be. If you wanted to talk about the Calgary Flames, Canadiens, Flyers, okay, look, all of these teams, spare the Nashville Predators, they did not make the playoffs this season. And you could very well say, for a Nashville Predators team that did make the playoffs, what was one of the biggest things they needed out of their team in this run against the Vancouver Canucks? Well, quite frankly, it was goals. They got shut out on home ice in Game 6, getting eliminated, and they kind of needed more goal support throughout the entire series. So with the rumors about Steven Stamkos and Mitch Marner maybe heading over to Nashville, there's already an idea floating around that the Predators could be involved in some sort of a move for a scoring player. Meanwhile, if you go over to the other teams that didn't make the playoffs, hey, everybody could use a goal scorer, right? Calgary, Montreal, Philly, San Jose, Utah. More goal scorers is not a bad thing, and when it comes to a lot of these teams, they do have more cap flexibility than the Carolina Hurricanes. Some have even fewer names they need to go out there and re-sign. So just from a flexibility standpoint, hey, yeah, it totally makes sense if the Flames, the Canadiens, the Flyers, Sharks, or Utah even would be interested in Martin Necas. And if the idea floating around is that he wants a bigger role, okay, you don't have to play behind Andrei Svechnikov and Sebastian Aho and everybody else in Carolina. If you go over to a team like San Jose, you can be the number 1 player. He was the number 1 player on Carolina last year. It's just, this previous season, he didn't really see the same fate. So, if he wants a number 1 role, if these other teams have more cap space to give him money, then okay, it makes sense from all sides involved. But when it comes to what that dollar amount could be, or what the trade price could be, let's dive into a few other conversations. So I wanted to refer to this tweet made by BPM Sports Radio. Of course, BPM is Montreal-based, so a lot of the conversations revolve around the Canadiens, but one of the recent conversations that they had talked about on their show was whether or not Martin Necas could be a target for the Canadiens, and what exactly the dollar amount could be. Eric Bélanger had this quote, I'm going to try my best to say this out loud in English, "There is immense potential in this player. He perfectly fits what the Canadiens want to build. I would give him $6.5 to $7 million per year." And with this in mind, you have to start thinking, okay, is that the appropriate kind of dollar amount here? 6.5 to 7 mil for a guy who could be a 70-point player when he is given top-line minutes and plays with the other top-line caliber talents that are on a team. Okay, is that fine? I honestly think that's okay. I mean, 7 million for 70 points? Not bad. You could get worse than that, especially when you consider the fact that even in the playoffs, Martin Necas has been a consistent playoff performer, scoring points and getting goals. He's been clutch, and certainly one of the guys that shows up in big moments. It's understandable to see why he wants a bigger role. So with this in mind, if you're a Canadiens fan, a Flyers fan, Flames fan, or anybody else, what are your thoughts on the idea of going up to $7 million a year? I think Carolina would have a little bit of trouble doing that, considering Martin Necas was making $3 million a season last year. But 7, I mean, we kind of know that the Hurricanes are already in a position to penny pinch a little bit. They've always been kind of that team to not really go all the way with committing huge extreme money to their guys. We had said this before in the other video, but it's kind of why Sebastian Aho ended up signing an offer sheet with Montreal. Not because he wanted to go to Montreal, but because he wanted the money. And he knew that Carolina could match whatever contract it was that he was signing with Montreal. He just also knew that the Hurricanes didn't want to go there in their own negotiations. So he's like, okay, you're not going to give me that money. I know you can, but you just don't want to. I'm going to sign an offer sheet with Montreal. You're going to be forced to match it because I know you have the capability. And what? I'll stay in Carolina. I'll get the money I want, and you will pay me that money. Because the fact is, you already can. So Carolina having that sort of reputation already, it makes sense to see if there are options for other teams to give Necas the money that he very well could deserve, or ask for, let's just say. And if you are a fan of the Calgary Flames, Canadiens, Sharks, Utah, or Nashville Predators, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments on if you feel your team would be the appropriate squad to get that done. Having Martin Necas play in Calgary with a guy like Andrei Kuzmenko, for example, Huberdeau, Necas, Kadri, Kuzmenko on a power play, add on whomever else you want on D, that's pretty good. Montreal could use another player in this age range. Necas and Nick Suzuki were drafted in the same class of players, so a little bit older than Cole Caulfield and Kirby Dach and Newhook, but still in that prime territory. If you wanted to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers, they're always looking for more talent here. I mean, John Tortorella did wonders with that squad heading into the 2024 playoffs. And I say heading into because the Flyers were pretty much in it until the last day. But still, a few more extra goals here and there would be pretty nice. If you're Nashville, yeah, no, goal scoring, probably a pretty good priority for this team, and something that y'all will focus on, whether it is a Mitch Marner or a Tavares or a Necas. San Jose, anybody going over to San Jose to play with Celebrini will be getting a great opportunity, and for the Utah Hockey Club, you could say the same thing with some of the other young talents there. Clayton Keller's still great, Dylan Genther's awesome, and then of course Logan Cooley down the middle. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about each of these teams and whether or not you could see them shelling out somewhere between $6.5 million to $7 million a year on some sort of a Martin Necas contract. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.